Hey, what's up? I'm gonna. Did you? I'm gonna invite you as co-host. All right, I sent you a co-host. So PSX. This is how I'm gonna do this.
Okay.
You and me are co-hosts, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So you can bring up speakers, but we're not going to do that. So
Okay.
the conversation. I'm so tired of conversations getting hijacked.
Yeah.
Because people have important things to say. And if you don't like what they say, write it down on a pad of paper and complain about it later.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so annoying to me that you're talking to somebody that's intelligent, has ideas, and whether you agree with them or not, just
hmm
let them talk. Because I think if their ideas suck, they'll destroy their ideas on their own, right?
Yeah. You would think the market of ideas would prevail. I've already, I'm not going to do a space tour like to go on a tangent to express my displeasure. I just need to go into one space and leave it at that. I think I've made it pretty obvious. I don't know if it's not as obvious on where I stood. Because I mean, again, my voice is only one of many in a community, and we're dealing with like millions of people, with different backgrounds, and it, you know, it, ideally, I would love to be in a Mario space to where we could just talk about the movie, but it's unfortunate because I'm super proud of Chrissy and her accomplishments with her company and what they managed
Mm-hmm.
to do, and when you shot that in that message when everybody was in a Mario space, like I kind of want to be in a Mario space too.
Oh, well, I was talking about the guy Mario. I don't know what they're talking about. Let me
Oh,
check.
are you talking about Mario Narfall?
Yes,
Yeah.
Pentagon Files. They're talking about the Pentagon Files.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's getting pretty interesting over there. Yeah, it's I find a lot of the arguments and the debates becoming more petty in the Link community over time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because there's nothing for me to take away from it. Now, if somebody's able to take away from it and try to expand the argument further, I still see that as a fallacy into itself, and very counterproductive. To me that communicates to me that it's someone who is like just someone who's just wanting to look for something to give themselves a sense of value and purpose if they haven't really produced anything. It's literally we're producing more politicians than we are people who can actually create and build.
All right. So I'm going to tell you my take. I'm thinking I don't have any emotion. I think I was more emotional about Lunk last year at some point, but I'm just all emotion has just dripped dry.
Oh no.
The well is dry.
Yeah.
I have no emotion about
You just yeah.
Luna Classic.
Hmm.
As far as it going up and down in the FUD and all that other kind of stuff. It's just I'm not emotionally attached.
Right.
So I'm looking at it from a logical perspective.
Right.
You know, you look at Occam's razor, and the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. So, you know, the chain dies, it gets abandoned.
Right.
What type of people is it going to attract? I mean, I think everybody can answer that question. Are there going to be good people that come to it? Of course.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always going to be somebody that's not. So, like everyone's saying, oh, the bad actors, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So that right there just illustrates a weakness in the structure in the system, in my opinion.
Right.
I try to accommodate that by writing up the holacracy with Lunkburn, Army, and Sam.
Yep.
Didn't pass.
Right.
But it had accountability built in.
Right.
And look at what we're looking at right now. Luna Classic doesn't really have, I mean, it has a structure, but it's not, who's checking who? What's the checks and balances? Do we have a third party auditing everything that's going on with the money and funds like that? We really don't.
No.
So whether Demon Monkey is saying facts or not, it's irrelevant in my mind. There's no auditing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, yeah, it's gotten to the point where it's even if Demon Monkey is right in every aspect of the way, his cases have become moot.
Yeah, I mean the solution moving forward is, in my mind, is have a system set in place where that you can keep trustworthy people trustworthy. Like, this is business. This is our money. You shouldn't have to automatically just trust people because they did something cool.
Right.
Like, why don't we have somebody checking the flow of the funds through TGF and stuff like that? I mean, I've known Demon long enough to know that it's not completely baseless, right?
I don't think anybody was arguing his claims. I sure wasn't. My contention with his approach is that he never had a call to action that was practical, executionable. It was just ongoing.
Yeah.
It was ongoing, spending 8 hours a day in a space. Like, how the hell do you find this time to do this?
I think he got a little disenchanted with Luna Classic, just, you know, because the second, like, he wasn't satisfied with some of the TR stuff, as you as well, later on, right?
Yeah, I try to get away from that so far. It's like, great, here we go. Yeah, no.
And now maybe he's nitpicking now, but he's seeing similar things, and it's like really irritating him. So I don't know everything, but I kind of have a feeling that he's not as involved as he was before, as far as an investor is concerned. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, his position probably was larger. Now it's probably way smaller because he's starting to see things he don't personally like, and I don't think he has a real attachment to the project one way or another as far as power is concerned. That, like, one like, it's a power play. Like, is it? Because he could have already taken power if he wanted to at some point.
Right.
Like, people really trusted.
Yeah, I'm definitely not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I could go down that rabbit hole, but I'm not in the business of attributing motive to anybody. It's like when we see, it's like when we see somebody, or when I see the tweets coming up and making accusations, calling somebody a liar. You know, in my mind, someone who's been in through the court through different court cases, specifically more like civil disputes, not so much as like criminal law, because that's a whole new different ballgame, but civil disputes, like financial disputes. One of the things that you learn is that, you know, when you say when you're accusing somebody of lying, my mind is already trained to think like, okay, you're attributing motive without, even if you say this is evidence, how do I know this is evidence? You know, I start to think, my brain starts going from creative to like, oh God, I'm putting on the attorney hat. Like, law and legality is so boring, but I hate the way my brain is trained to really kind of really start dissecting, certain specific wording and adages and like where how things are being interpreted. So, um, the a lot of the communications get lost in these debates because so many people, we don't have an agreement on how certain ways of communications ought to be interpreted. And that's where the chaos starts. And then people start buying to not so much as power control, but who can yell the loudest. It could be Demon, it could be you, it could be me, it could be whoever is in this room.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a natural instinct. It's like, I want attentions because, we've grown up in a society where we've gotten coddled, like we've gotten everything we wanted. When really, I've made the argument to not so much as to the community as a whole is honestly we don't have enough bullies in our society to balance out the ecosystem because quite frankly, quite frankly, I'm seeing some no offense to anyone, I'm saying to I'm seeing adults behave like children, and I'm thinking I hold the male counterpart at much higher esteem, and if your tweets starting to sound like they're coming off you're whining, I'm gonna cringe a little bit.
Right. And Twitter kind of allows us to do that, doesn't it?
It does.
Because
It does.
yeah.
It does. It's sad. I mean, I keep I keep my tweets very limited. I don't speak. I don't like even if you run through. If I speak ill will, it'll be with the SEC, like the real life things that exist outside the one community. I don't need to speak ill will of anybody within the world of Luna Classic. Somebody's going to do that for me anyway. So why even bother? Yeah, it's just energy. It's just like it's just wasted energy for me. Um, you know, Specifically when the whole situation with TR when that erupted. I never had the intent to go after them. What I did and my intent was is like, hey, here are these claims. Here's what I found. And even members of TR even knew because I gave them the report, and then and I did tell them what I was going to do, and I did it. Of course, it was written at the very bottom of the report. So does that count? I think like I gave them a fair shot of
Well, they didn't read it all the way through. They just
it.
read the title or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. That was it. I was like, that's not my fault if they didn't read it all the way through. So I was like, okay, whatever. Um, and then I proceeded to execute my plan, and that was for me to give the community an opportunity to say, hey, what do you want to do? Like, I'm not going to pursue this. Like, I've done most of the legwork for you guys. What are you going to do? And that was it. Do you need like you have several options? There's a way to go. You can go to, and maybe I should have put up a process up for them where they can go visit the CFTC or SEC website. They can do it, and I might have slipped up on that one, so my fault. But hey, there's a 2-year statutory limitation, so there's that. But considering where SEC's been going, that might be a shot in the dark because they're shooting everything in the dark, hoping something will stick because everybody's vying for power outside the Luna Classic community. And as far as
Right.
where things are going, as far as who's competing for power or the biggest influence, I don't know. For me, what I'm looking at is a lot of reckless behavior. Um, I
mean, you're familiar with Occam's razor, right?
I've
kind of
heard of
like
it.
that term, I
Yeah,
believe.
I heard of it. It reminds me of, and maybe let me give you an example. Maybe you see maybe this is something you can confirm is if my mind is on the right track, and then correct me if I'm off the rails. Is that fair? See if I have a general, if I have a pretty decent understanding of it. Can I give you an
Yeah.
example?
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, so back during the Bush Wars, the Operation Desert Storm, you remember? Oh, no, was it? No, 9/11. Desert Storm was before, I think, right? It was during the Al Qaeda wars. with the
Yeah, a
mutants?
Desert Storm
Yeah.
was in the 90s.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So that was the Patriot Act when all that shit went to hell. Um, and the United States was in Afghanistan. And when we took out Al Qaeda, um, we blew a hole in the power structure. No. It was we took out Al Qaeda. We really blew a hole when we took out Saddam Hussein. And we left a vacuum. Even if we didn't like it, I would say, he's a necessary evil to keep him there, to keep the balance there at the balance of powers at bay. Because when we did that, we left a vacuum of power, and then came ISIS, and then we learned that ISIS was a very extreme. It was Al Qaeda on steroids. Even members of Al Qaeda was very fearful of this group, ISIS. So it was literally the idea of, like, if we blow a hole, if we don't have a backup to fill in that gap, someone's going to come in who's either a much more extreme version of the previous regime is going to come in and then fill in that gap. Is that a good way of looking at it, or am I off basis?
No, so yeah, Occam's razor is I mean, you can use it in problem solving. It basically just breaks down a problem to its simplest elements.
Mm-hmm.
So it essentially, how most people use it is when there's an explanation for something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, Occam's razor states that it's more preferable uh, to hear the simplest explanation versus something that's so complex.
Right.
And when you start looking at, like, investigation and all that other kind of stuff, why, when there's a murder, why do people closest to the victim get looked at as potential people of interest? Because of Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is statistically, more prevalent. So if a guy that has blood on his hands because he found the victim and then called 911,
Mm-hmm.
that's a person of interest now, right? Because
Yeah.
Occam's razor. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
basically what I'm talking
Okay,
about.
so I was way off. All right, I was thinking of something. Maybe I was thinking of something
Yeah,
else.
you're not exactly way off, because when you're looking at, you were looking at a problem, right?
Uh-huh.
Who's going to take over when that they're taken out, right?
Right.
And that's the simplest thing. Another group's gonna come in and take power. I mean, that's exactly what happened. So that is Occam's razor in a sense.
There was a demon was talking about how he was in a space. He was talking about how there was he was going back and forth, you know, on whether he should release the information or not, considering, like, it almost seems like he's got, like, this self-righteous, virtuous responsibility, to protect the investor or not. Like, do I release the information knowing that this could destroy the community, or do I not? And I started thinking about what he said and how he said it, and you know, to put bluntly, to even address his concerns, whether he'll hear this recording or not, the answer is no. He does not have an obligation to protect anybody. The sole responsibility of protecting yourself and your investment relies on the individual, not anybody else. Again, like, we're all fucking adults. You lose, you lose. You win, you win. If you lose, get back up. Um, the issue that I took with his approach is that he had no backup plan, and I started thinking in comparison, because to be honest, I was thinking that sentiment ran through my mind as well when I was when I was trying to figure out, like, do I want to release this preliminary report to the public or not, and what was a backup plan should, because I knew it was going to happen, because I was so familiar with the whole the Saudi story, and it reminded me of that. It's like, this is like me playing CIA, overthrowing a regime, and if I blow a hole in this, who's going to take its place? Like, what's the transition of power going to look like? Does it make sense?
No, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's exactly it.
You know, and then
No, that makes complete
yeah.
sense. And I wasn't satisfied personally with the way things went down, because I was advocating for a more concrete structure, so to
Mhm.
speak, not something that was loose.
Right.
And to me, L1 Task Force and what do they call DJ Trev and those guys? The
COC.
Yeah, what is it? What does the acronym stand
I,
for?
I assumed it was something for an oversight committee. I'm sure we'll get to the
Oversight committee. That's what it is.
okay.
Yeah, but they don't really have people with the expertise over there that can actually oversee things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So the
Well,
things that are most critical.
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this because I don't know what it takes to be an oversight committee because I just assume like
Well, they're not paid.
well that might be a good thing. You know,
I mean, it's hard to get experts if you're not paying for experts. That's
let me
that's
yeah
what I'm trying to
let me
get
ask
at.
you this. Maybe you can help me understand like what it takes to be in because I don't know what it takes to be an oversight committee. It's not my wheelhouse. I just know like to me an oversight committee is someone who can conduct some sort of auditing process. Like, and it doesn't have to be. It could be just as like more of like an HR thing. Like HR can be viewed as an oversight committee because it's a mitigator between like, hey, if there's a manager and employee, like who's in the wrong or right, like how do we mitigate this? Because
Yeah,
companies know, because it's always just viewed as somebody who's just going to play a more neutral part. Like, hey, if there's something wrong, like, hey, I want to communicate that to the community, and then they, and you figure out how to deal with it. I want to get to the holacracy here in a little bit too as well. Give me a second. Let me get some water. My voice is getting dry. Um, but yeah, but what would you specifically? Can you provide any idea of what you would guard as someone who's qualified to be on an oversight committee? Let's start there.
I think somebody that has auditing experience and specifically code auditing. Because here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, everything's on GitHub. You can go look at it, right?
Uh,
I know enough about coding to know that there can be a backdoor that
mm-hmm.
you don't see, or there can be something hidden within the code that is hidden in plain sight. And good luck finding it, right?
Right.
So I'm not the code expert. Can I read some code? Yeah. Am I skilled at it? Absolutely not. I'm not skilled at it. Right. So, I mean, I'm not going to be able to recognize nothing
Yeah.
that's good or bad. I'm just going like, oh, that's a function.
That
That's
was
all I'm going to recognize.
that's exactly the conversation that Marzik and I had in a previous space. I think it was yesterday or last night. Where we were talking about like uh, when people were talking about whether Zardar was a good coder or was he not, like he wasn't doing any of the work, and I'm looking in the GitHub repository and I'm thinking like I'm no expert at this, but it seems like there's a lot of work being conducted here if I'm looking at this right, assuming I'm looking at this right. Um, and because his GitHub link is on his Twitter handle, so I don't know what the issue is. There's proof of work right there. Like, what do you want? But I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'd go with you. It's like, hey, someone who can automate this work. But I haven't heard any
Like you
complaints.
said, man, the community asks for some unrealistic things sometimes and things that are very confusing. Um, and it's just, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. And then they just back it up. Right. And the proof of work thing is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to look at the proof of work? No, I'm not. I don't care, but I want somebody competent to look at it. So there's a good answer for your auditing team or your oversight committee.
Yep.
Have somebody that can look at that and audit it.
Well,
that would make sense. And I think they had somebody at one point, but then I don't know. But and I think somebody from a financial background too. And it would be preferable if they have no attachment to Lunk. That would be preferred because then they have nothing to lose, nothing to gain.
Right. I'm going to go to the holacracy that you mentioned because it took me a while because I couldn't get behind it because I didn't quite because I was the communications of your team that was trying to sell it was getting lost in the conversation because I didn't understand the narrative and where it was going, and I had to take time out of my busy schedule to understand what a holacracy is from the get go. And this is when we first met. Like after I exited had a TR and just let the shit show keep going. And what was the first thing I asked you to do? I was like, sell me Holacracy in 30 seconds. And then
In 30
in
seconds?
30 seconds, sell me Holacracy. And you just stop. And then you really had to pause. You really I remember you pausing in the conversation. It's like, yeah, see, that's where you guys fucked up. It's a good idea. And to put it simply, the problem with the Holacracy idea that I struggle with is it requires a lot of competent people in their respective fields.
Yes.
That's this is basically you're telling me you want quality over quantity, but you want quality with quantity. It's like, uh, yeah, good luck.
Well, I don't think we need a lot of people working on the chain to make it successful,
Oh
to
yeah,
be honest.
no. It was just the idea that you wanted to instill such type of structure, because the way it was communicated is that the idea was your team wanted to instill this type of structure and scale it up to the lung community. It's like I don't see that happening. I really don't.
Well, I wanted it to be scalable,
Yeah,
but
uh,
the in its simplest terms, holacracy is just a way to manage a business.
mhm,
It's a structure, so to speak, and how to communicate and solve problems. And there's accountability built in
mhm,
to the whole entire system.
right,
And it's not the only one, but it's one of the only ones that I understood as far as being
yeah,
gosh, what is the term? Decentralized. It's a decentralized form of governance,
right. That
and everyone everyone looked at it as like, oh, it's centralization. It's centralized. I mean, it does everything that a centralized form of governance or a centralized form of management can do
right.
without being centralized. So
So
you can argue all day long that this position, that position, and it's centralized, but every we're we're on square one again, man. In Luna Classic, we're trying to rebuild. It's almost like we're starting a new project all over again, almost, right?
you think?
Um, yeah. So a little bit of centralization is actually probably going to push it along faster, but holacracy is not centralization.
Here,
It's just
here's the problem that I have. I have a couple of problems with the word centralization and decentralization. It's almost becoming a buzzword and a word that's overly used with no real meaning behind it. Is decentralization bad? Decentralization good? It's like shit. Well, does anybody understand? It's going to get lost in translation pretty soon here if it hasn't already.
uh, here's my opinion. I think centralization with built-in accountability is
Mhm.
better than decentralization with no accountability.
I'm not disagreeing, and I'm not agreeing to that either. I'm kind of it, it. Let's see. Let me take your holacracy example case for example. A lot of companies have a lot of companies specifically like a lot of companies have already implemented that idea without even realizing it. I'll put it that way. The best way to implement such type of structures when it happens organically. It's when things become homogenous.
It's easier to do when something launches brand new than it is to
Oh
try to
yeah,
recreate it
oh
established.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. It's like from the ground up. It's like with with this idea with a community this big, vying for decentralization, it almost feels like it's like this blob. Like it's really more centralized to a mass with just screaming voices at each other, and it's top down, and it still feels top down. One of the things I think it was either Madison or Jefferson wrote in one of the Federalist Papers is that democracy always implodes on itself. Like history has always shown that. That's why the United States itself has never been a democracy since the founding of the framers when they signed off on the Declaration of Independence. Um, and I've always been. I think that's why I took my stance where the situation with even with Tobias as his tweets might have been less than professional. I didn't take issue with it because it's his personal account. The work has been completed for Q1. And then people are asking about questions like, I I think the appropriate response would have been like, hey, defer your question to an army. All communications go over there. For me, I'm just talking my shit. I'll do whatever I want. And I think that would be a fair ask.
Yeah, I mean, from a public relations perspective, I think it could potentially hurt him sometimes, and I think it did. But
No, it did.
that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But the like you said, the oversight committee, I think part of it was PR, but we're not seeing it on Twitter
Hmm.
because DJ Trev is doing the PR piece on YouTube. He's not coming over to Twitter and doing the PR piece.
Right.
Now, everything that has happened right now, I think everything that has happened right now would be a heck of a lot more palatable if there was some type of presence on Twitter that was doing that PR piece a little bit more frequently, right?
Yeah.
That's
It,
just my opinion.
no, I mean, I was debating with myself whether I wanted to volunteer my time to provide support for DJ Trap, considering how fast Twitter was moving, and then me, who was working on the with my Q1 and Q2 workload coming up, that was coming up. I was like, dude, I don't have time to expense any type of energy to assist anybody with their communications infrastructure. It just it's a lot of work. And I would agree with you that yeah, he should have spent like he should have maybe added more. I hate telling someone who what they
Yeah,
should or
not
shouldn't.
should.
Yeah, I just like, hey, recommend
So
that you
let me
might
let me tell you
consider
a little
doing
trick.
more Twitter. I just hate the word should. It's like it's an ultimatum. Do this or
You're right. So let me help you change it so that this will complete. You already know this. You're a communications guy, so you probably already know this. But people in here might not know this, so I'm going to mention it.
Mhm.
Um, it's when you're critical of somebody, you always like using the word should, right?
Right.
Parents use it to their kids all the time.
Yeah.
You should do this. You should do that.
Yeah.
Well, anytime I tell you you should do something, you're like, motherfucker, I know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not as open when you hear that word.
Hmm.
But if you change the sh to a c,
Could.
you make it an option,
Oh, it's
then they're
brilliant.
more open and they listen.
That's brilliant. That is so brilliant. It's crazy how it's like little minor changes can just broaden, can make such a huge difference. There was a a creative guy. I forgot what his name. Chris. He's out in San Bernardino, California. Chris. I follow his stuff, and what he does design. He came up as a graphic designer, runs an agency, has a multi-million dollar business. I kind of Chris. Oh my God, how do I forget this guy? I haven't followed up with his content in a long time. I need to go back and refresh. But design language, how you can shift the commas around, and you'd be surprised how just that alone would change the dynamics of how things are being communicated. I have to find that and send it to you. It's a mind fuck. It's as simple as just moving commas around on a sentence.
Yeah, I believe it. Like, so I learned. See, I'm always learning,
Hmm.
and people, no matter how old they are, they tend to not take criticism well, even if they're mature, right?
Hmm.
And I got to a point where I worked a job where you had to be able to take feedback, good or bad. You had to be able to take it to be successful. It took me a while, but once I was able to listen to the feedback, I discovered that the tweaks and the changes you have to do as an individual to satisfy a supervisor or a coworker when they're giving you feedback is so minimal, and people don't realize the minimalistic change that they have
Hmm.
to make people around them feel more comfortable. It's ridiculously nothing. It takes zero, like almost zero part of your time. You just have to think on it a little bit. So I started taking feedback. I started asking for feedback at work
Right.
from everybody for every situation. And I went home and I'd always think about it. And I spent like 30 to 60 days doing this self improvement task, right, on myself.
Right.
Because I'm like, gosh, things aren't, progressing the way I wanted them to. I'm going to take this feedback situation and I'm really going to go with it. I'm going to be as open as I possibly can be, and I'm going to see what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I noticed is the only thing I changed in myself was that I listened. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, consequently, it probably did affect my job performance in the fact that I'm consciously thinking about what other people have said in the past, right? But those changes to me seem like there was no change at all. The only difference is I was taking other people's opinions into consideration, and I would either use them or not use them. And the fact that I did that alone made me perform better. It made no sense to me, but it makes sense now because, like, when you're talking to somebody that doesn't listen, it's annoying as fuck, and you start not to liking them, right?
Well,
Um,
I listen to wind chimes a lot.
yeah,
This past week has been nothing but wind chimes in my dreams. It's like, mm.
right. Well, that's that. I'm not even. This isn't even necessarily directed towards Luna Classic.
Yeah.
This is life in general, right? But
I'm just poking fun at it. It's
yeah,
just, you gotta poke a little bit of fun.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think it's so when people get that in their lives, like when they get to a point where they can hear somebody complaining or somebody criticizing, and they can sit back and listen to it and
Mhm.
actually respond in a kosher way, or like kosher, that's a Jewish term for food and stuff, but it means polite, essentially, is what it's used for, right?
Mhm.
Um, if you can respond in a way that is positive towards relationship building, you're going to get better success. Period. It's just the way it is. And dropping bombs and little nuggets of information that are very alarming and get people heated. Uh, that's that's a it can be taken as an attack, right?
Yeah.
And I read a quote before this stuff even happened. I read a quote. This is not even I didn't find this after the fact. I look at quotes sometimes, and this one just really hit me. Um, a person that doesn't know how to communicate thinks everything is an argument.
Man,
How true is that?
that reminds me of a community. God, I can't put my finger on it. Man, help me out here. I'm just kidding, dude. Well, there's a Greek philosopher. I'm trying to remember. Diogenes. I remember somebody's going to probably correct me if I'm wrong. There's a saying. It's still used in business today. Um, what is it? Listen more, talk less.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Listen more.
And like people get on my grill sometimes because when I have spaces and people are going back and forth,
Hmm.
because the last space I had before this one, it was Demon Monkey and LBA just going back and forth, and I
Hmm.
was like, just let him do it,
Yeah.
because and they're like, why didn't you control it more? I was like, I wanted to listen.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm just like you guys. I didn't want to, you know, do anything. I wanted it to come out. I wanted both sides to come out
Hmm.
so I could hear it, so that I could, I don't know everything.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I want to listen to it
I,
so I can make my own judgment
I
call.
I think the other problem was is that when you had other people weighing in outside, I think the only criticism that I would have, and yes, this is kind of a criticism towards you, is that when others who are on the that are that also had the mic were weighing in as well, then you had one too many voices coming in, and what I observed was that it became a 5-on-1 match, and in my mind, I'm thinking like, what is like, and it gets your space, so it's not for me to come in and just weigh in on how it should be run. But if that was your intent, then what you got was a 5-on-1 match, because
So you're right.
people have already made up their minds. It's like, because that's when I had that one-on-one conversation with nobody involved between, and it's on my tweet. I'll even nest it for anyone. And that's when I was able to say, okay, now I can hear his side, and without anybody outside trying to shift my views.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you're absolutely 100% correct. And I'm going to take that feedback and try to improve my spaces, because here's the reason why. Like, when I invited you tonight to talk, I told you specifically no other speakers, right?
Yep.
And the reason why is I wanted to have a conversation with you, and I wanted you to get your ideas out there,
Mm-hmm.
because as soon as we allow other people to come up here, they'll completely change the topic. Some of them do.
Mm-hmm.
They'll start asking questions about stuff we're not even talking about,
Mm-hmm.
or they'll ask questions that about what we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
that just completely derail the conversation. And it's like, I don't mind taking questions, but it gets to a point where it's wasting your time as a person that comes on, right?
Right.
I'm trying to get Alex in here because, like, I like to hear what his perspective on things too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how it's going to be. PSX is like, it's going to be him and me. And then if he has time, or if he feels comfortable taking a few questions, then we can do that. But I'd rather run it more like a podcast than a free for all.
I'm nodding my head right now. I'm like, I think you're going toward a podcast kind of thing. Cause I'll be honest. I don't think I'm going to be taking questions tonight. I just want to, just one-on-one conversation. If the audience has a takeaway from this, they can DM me a question later. If I feel like I'll answer it at my own discretion. But there's a million things that are going on in my life. There's a million things that you have to deal with as well. Um, I don't need to deal with somebody's viewpoint or opinion that may be counterproductive for me to even try to even consider it when I know in my mind, in the back of my head, that it's preventing me from reaching what my personal goals need to be, if that makes sense.
Perfect sense. Yeah. And, okay, so I'm a very inquisitive person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a person myself that likes, I ask a lot of questions and I question everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, everyone else, may be demonizing one individual. I'm the guy that wants to hear what that individual has to say, whether people agree with him or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have an army of people trying to shut down what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, let them talk. I mean, like I said to you earlier on when we started, if somebody's ideas suck,
Yeah.
they're when they start talking about their ideas, people are going to come up with their own conclusions. We're not stupid. People that are on Twitter in these spaces are not dumb, man. I like, people say, I hear people say, "Oh, the community's stupid." No, they're not. Individually, they're very smart. It's when people get into a group and they start
Yeah.
teaming up. That's
No.
when the dumb starts happening. And the reason why is nobody feels like they're accountable
Mm-hmm.
because they're doing it together. So who takes responsibility for this or that?
It's
Well, it's a group. No one's taking responsibility in that group.
right.
That's why it's dumb.
Yeah, it falls down to the very individual itself. So when I would argue, like, those who voted no on the initial L1 task force, and now Luntburn Army's got to go back. And Luntburn Army, he owned it. He owned it like a fucking champ. With this entire thing, like, and I compared, and I saw Rabbi's proposal, and I kind of laughed at it. Um, Disrespectfully laughed at it. Like, I didn't earn an ounce of my respect when I saw Jacob's name in there. And I'm thinking in terms of, like, I have a behavior that I can compare it to between how Jacob handled his scrutiny versus how Luntburn Army handled his scrutiny. Luntburn Army jumped in the mosh pit and ran with it and held his ground and got punched in the face from every fucking angle I could think of. And Jacob just ran off like a cuck. He's got he's
Yeah,
got he's
I mean,
got
good point.
he's got no respect for me. The guy's a fucking cuck. Like,
I like that term.
that's what he is. Like, if you're wanting this guy to lead a team, if this guy's going to leave you hanging, why the fuck would I want to follow that person? You got to be a fucking
Yeah,
imbecile.
I don't think I used to say, with the holacracy and before the holacracy and even after the holacracy,
Mm-hmm.
having a CEO would be nice.
Yeah.
Having somebody that actually been there, done that, and yeah, it costs a lot of money, guys. It does.
I
But
need money.
yeah, I honestly, like, for, I did the whole actually last year with Lunkburn Army and Sam. And in my mind, it was more important to spend money on setting up a structure legally and getting the right type of accountability in there to make honest, to make sure that honest people stay honest. That to me was the biggest importance for Luna Classic, because the bull run's not happening until 2025.
Right.
All kinds of building can happen in between there. If we get the structure right from the get-go, we're in a better position long term. And especially if we get a visionary in there pushing us forward, not just somebody that's busting their ass doing code and then every once in a while has a casual conversation where they want to see it go.
Yeah.
No, somebody where it's their job to be the visionary. Oh, but that's centralized and all. I like, man, I just want to, like everyone else, I want my bag to just go boom, and I want to look at my wallet someday and be like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. That's what everyone wants to see. But if you don't have a good structure to the business, it ain't going to happen. Like right now, it's just, I don't know. I don't even know if there's a real world comparison to this, like outside of crypto.
I think I would say I'm trying to think, but you might be right, but you also could be wrong. I don't know. I'm gonna hold off on that one before.
Well, there's plenty of businesses that have failed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's probably plenty of examples. It's just there's not very many examples of businesses that have structured themselves in similar ways that have actually succeeded.
Yeah.
So that's probably the issue.
I mean, so just to kind of put things in perspective, so I would say I would like just the overall crypto industry. I would put it under the tech category, right? Like fintech or financial, but mostly tech before I even consider it as financials. A lot of people don't realize is that 98% of technology companies go under in the first year before they even make the pitch. I mean, you think crypto's volatile? let me really scare the shit out of you. And if that doesn't and so when I hear the argument of like it's my money, it's risky, it's like, man, do you even know what you're getting yourself into? I mean, like let's start off with the technology industry as a whole. It's like restaurants. There's a 68% turnaround. There's 60 to 70% turnaround. But a higher success rate than technology. Technology, it's up in the 90s. That should scare you a little bit. And the only reason why, and I think, and I can almost attribute this to how like between the years of 2016 up until as of recent, was we had like an abundance of cheap money. Like interest rates were low, you could borrow money, and at a 1%, and then you could throw that anywhere. It was easy. You just have to. That's why we're in this shit show of a recession, even though they won't call it a recession. But when you get interest rates at 6, now 8%, I think, things are going to pull back a little bit, actually a lot. But when money is cheap, relatively cheap, you're going to have an abundance of tech companies, taking riskier bets. And now that we're in this financial climate where the interest rates are so high, we're going to see who are the emperors without clothes. And then Luna Classic is going to be in that category more than likely. That's the risk. And I'm not trying to scare anybody in this room, but it's something you have to come to grasp with.
Yeah, that's just realistic, man.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, so I'm going to share with you my meme coin strategy, right? Because I degen a little bit, right?
Memes have value. All right. There's nothing wrong with it. Memes have value. They do. It's crazy. I don't know how intrinsic it is, but no, go ahead.
Right. The value is mostly just entertainment and funniness, and sometimes they build things and sometimes they don't. But usually what they build is, pathetically so low bar, it's ridiculous. But I'm not attacking meme coins. Meme coins can still make a profit, guys. But here was my meme coin strategy.
Yeah.
I took an amount of money. Let's just say it's $1,000.
Right.
I researched and looked at 10 meme coins that already existed that were in a bear market, that were down in value, that were expected to go up during the bull run.
Right.
and I divvied it up equally.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Three of them actually made a profit. Actually, four of them, but the fourth one was such a low profit it wasn't even comparable to the other three. But three of them did pretty darn well, man. I made my money back that I initially put in, and then some. So like, same thing with Luna Classic. If you diversify, and like you said, all this stuff is risky, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you diversify and you do some research and you pick some other potential winners, uh, you're going to win somewhere,
Yeah.
and you're going to be happy. And I think that's the most important thing. I'm not all in, right? I don't think anyone should be all in just one thing.
No, 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 I agree. I mean, I have more Bitcoin than I can, a lot more Bitcoin. I mean, it's my portfolio, and this is not financial advice if anybody's listening. My portfolio looks like 50% Bitcoin, 25% Ethereum, and then it's 25% whatever altcoin of my choice. Luna Classic being on the top, just because there's a love and hate relationship I have with the community, and B, there's a part of me that kind of loves the shit show. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of one of those guilty pleasures, like even though it pisses me off for some reason, it's like, am I a masochist?
Dude, like during the next bull run, let's just say that everything blows up in our face and we got to start all over again.
Hmm.
The bull run comes, we're still going up. Come on. We're still going.
Yeah, pretty
It might
much.
not be like a moonshot, but
Hmm.
it's still like people will still be able if they're patient, I think it'll still go up.
Right.
But that's what's hilarious about it. And you know why? Because we'll be trending.
Yeah. No, I mean, it trends when it shouldn't trend, and it trends for the cliche. It's, I would say, and this is the interesting part. Luna Classic trends for the wrong reasons. It's more times than I can count. But there's some I don't know. Fate loves irony. I think. Is that how it's put? Fate loves
I'm
irony.
not sure about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I mean, small news
Hmm.
can create a lot of momentum and hype.
Right.
Small news. And if there's small news happening prior to the bull run, you're going to see people loading some bags
Right.
that aren't even in Luna Classic. You're going to see large purchases, and then it's off to the races, right? Whether we could be in the same exact spot we are in today, and it would still happen. It just and you guys, maybe not. Just like PSX said, it could just fail, right?
Yeah.
That's why we diversify.
Right.
We're not just in one thing. But because I was in the other meme coins, right?
Hmm.
And seven of them didn't really. Well, I would say four of them performed positively,
Hmm.
whereas six of them did not. Some of them, like I think one of them, completely just went dead. Like I don't know if it was a rug or what,
Hmm.
but I mean, how common is that, right?
If
So
you haven't gotten rug, yes, you haven't been in crypto long enough. I mean, getting rug is more like a rite of passage now.
I found that if you are doing the new launches and you're getting into coins that just launch,
Hmm.
that's usually where you're going to get your rug experience from. But
Yeah.
if you're going into things that already exist, you're better off. Now, I took my profit out of Saitama before the devs allegedly dumped on us, right? I took my profit out before that
Yeah.
happened, and I didn't make a ton of money, guys.
So
I had $50 in it.
so fill me in on Saitama, because I was trying to figure out like what was going on with Saitama, and I think this was before I joined TR, because I was trying to understand what was Saitama. And then I was seeing like little videos here and there where they wanted to partner up with my hands are up, saying, like, doing the quotes, like the Luna Classic community, like some kind of partnership. Like, I'm thinking in my head,
Yeah.
like, who are you doing a partnership in the community? Like, I mean, it's pretty big. Like, you getting with the influencers, one of the products. Like, what is this? And then I see, like, even in the TR Discord at the time before I got booted, um, the consensus was it was a scam coin of some sort, and I was trying to understand what they were doing, and then I was going into these Saitama spaces, and there was something about the founder and her girl and his fiance were extorting money. There was laundering, money laundering. It was like a whole host of.
All I got to say is you think there's drama at Luna Classic. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
we can't touch Saitama's drama. I swear. But essentially, it's just devs using projects like ATMs, like so
uh,
many have.
right,
It's not just Saitama. It's tons of tons. They want to get paid, right? They want to get paid well. Um, that's why I think that's why I bring up accountability on Luna Classic, and why I think that having a checks and balances system is very important, because people do want to, like, if they're spending a lot of time and energy on something
right.
and they get nothing out of it. Like, I've done a project before that failed. Okay,
Hmm.
it failed.
Sure.
I put money in. I lost money on it. I look back at that. I was like, I don't ever want to fucking do that shit again.
I would. Well, I would argue this. I would argue this. Like, how much did you spend money on that? On that said whatever project?
Oh, a couple $1,000s.
Okay, that's a small price to pay compared to most students. Let's look at it this way. You call that an investment? I call that a learning process. I see students like
Right.
who are burning like how much 60,000, 100,000, and going into student loans. They come out. What are the odds of them finding a job that'll actually get them to pay off their loan? What are the odds? I'd say, like, could they do it in 5 years? Fuck it, could they do it in 2 years?
Oh, that just gets me to a whole other point
Right.
about dating, right?
Okay. I was like, are we going? Do we need a dating app on one community? Like, what's going on here?
So here, okay, this is off topic, but guys, we're having an interesting conversation, so screw it.
Uh
Um, so the dating scene, right? If I don't have a son, I have a daughter,
oh. Hmm.
and I have a stepdaughter.
Uh
So I don't have a son. But if I ever had a son and he brought home a girl that from college, or, like, first of all, before he goes to college, I'm like, so you're gonna go into debt for what? And I'm gonna make sure he's making good decisions, and then I'm going to probably criticize what his decisions are, because the highest paying jobs typically are jobs you can learn on your own, and or skill based jobs, whether that's tech, whether that's sewage, or whether that's garbage man, whether that's oil drill companies, and, like, you,
hmm.
you know what I mean. Those are the jobs that pay well, versus go to college, spend 60 grand, or be in debt 60 grand, and then what, right?
Right.
So my advice to my son would be, don't get don't get too serious with a girl that has debt like that, because when you get married, guess who owns that debt? You. Like, why would you already buy somebody that's, or, not buy? Why would you already get involved with somebody that's already in the hole?
Hmm.
Like, it's going to keep you from, getting a house and all. Well, a loan for a
Hmm.
college doesn't, but, like, it's just the value of that individual in attractiveness, in my mind, and maybe because I think about finances and stuff like that, their value goes way down because of that.
Right. There was
And
a there was a there was a conversation. It's interesting. It's an interesting dichotomy in the social spaces of dating, where men, the difference in values of men and women, like at the birth level, starting at birth, when boys are born, uh, our value starts at zero. When women, when a girl is born, the value starts at 100. And then
oh yeah,
as things age, it reverses,
yep,
which is
yeah, I can, like,
it's an interesting dichotomy. I started looking at it, it's like, God, that's fascinating, because men have to build it, right?
I'm a father, and I look at, like, I don't have a son yet. I want one, but I don't have a son.
Hmm.
I look at I would definitely look at, I already have daughters, so, like, I look at them as they are valuable,
Right.
right? I do, as a father.
Yeah.
Now, a son, I'm going to love them just the same.
Hmm.
However, I'm going to do my best to build them up and make them the best man I can be,
Right.
to add more value to them,
Right.
because, like you said, that there's some truth to what you just said. That's,
Right.
and I'm backing it up because I'm a father.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is culturally across over the world. Like, there's no value with men at birth. Like, we have to build it. We have to go through this extreme process. of proving ourselves to society versus like women. Like, so say like you have a daughter, right? When she's born, you put her like you are a helicopter father. I'm sure. Like
Yes.
you are gonna pull the shotgun out. Like, who are you? Like, oh, this is my boyfriend. I'm like, I didn't ask you a question. I asked him a question. Who are you? Right? And like, he better give a damn good answer because you want to make sure your daughter's taken care of.
Well, daughters that aren't trying to be rebels, if they're smart, they will have their father filter the guys they're trying to date.
Mhm.
Because a father happens to be a man and knows how to think like a man, and he knows where that man's head is.
Well, that's assuming if the father knows what his gender is in the first place, but we won't go there. So I'm sorry. It's just there's too much shit going on in the world. I'm like, this is really happening. Holy fuck.
Even
I can barely hear you. What's going on?
Oh, I have my finger on the mic. I said, even if a father is confused and is thinking that he's not the right gender for whatever reason, he had that person has grown up in the experience of being a male, so they at least know how the brain works, and I think the brains work differently between males and females.
Right.
So, I mean, not on everything, but when it comes to relationships,
Yeah.
I think men want different things than what women want,
Sure.
and I know that because I'm a man. Well, like I don't want the same stuff a woman wants in a
No.
relationship.
No. I would think like I would say like modern well specifically here in the West. I mean they're a product of the of many things that took place before us. You know, the sexual revolution back in the 70s and 80s, and then then feminism, and then equal rights, and then they're just a product of it. And social media, pop culture. Um, that's and then how you compare that to those outside of that world is a very different social construct onto its own. But I typically lean more conservative on social structures versus I know a lot of people want to push for that um, pull the gender card. I just kind of just roll my eyes and like, all right, well, show me what you got. I just keep it simple.
Yeah,
Just show
I'm
me.
more conservative
Yeah, I typically
on
look
that
at yeah,
aspect.
and I'm a millennial. I'm like, whatever, guys. I don't give a fuck. Just show me
Well,
what
I'm
you
a
got.
Gen Xer, so we got two
Uh,
different perspectives here.
well, there's some similarities and there's a realignments. I mean, but then again, my parents. I think I'm more of a product of my parents and how I was brought up because my parents were Vietnamese refugees, and so I had the privilege of being raised by what we call tiger parents. So if you stepped out of line, it was capital punishment. Yeah.
Well,
It,
not bad. I mean, it worked.
yeah, no, it worked. It was like no fucks given. Like step out of line, you'll see what happens. Yeah, I remember my brother, and here's another story. But I remember my brother was getting the ass whooping of his life, and he threatened my dad like he was going to call CPA. I was like, "The fucker's going to call his bluff," and I was watching. I remember it so. It's so fresh in my memory bank. So that was the funniest thing ever. He picked up the phone, and my dad threatened him. No, my dad doesn't make threats. He was going to tell him exactly what he's going to do. Calls us. He's like, "Go ahead, call him." And he goes like, "It's going to take him 20 minutes to get here. Between then, and when they get here, I'm going to do maximize the damage." I was like, "Yeah."
And then they take you away, and you never return home.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like, go ahead. It's like he's gonna make it worth it. It's like it was awesome, And I'm so glad
Oh my god!
it was. I'm so glad my dad even says like it's like that's when a man is a man's man. Like when he'll stand his ground, he's not going to tolerate some little brat, who grew up in a first world country is just crying because he keeps getting an ass whooping.
Well, I mean, if you don't, I know I'm not. I don't have a son, but I know that if you don't keep boys in line,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have problems.
Oh yeah, we see it in
It's
society
just the way
today.
it is.
Yeah, we see it in society right now. It's like, dude, these are fatherless boys that have never gotten an ass whooping of their life. They've never been disciplined. They've never. It's like this entitlement behavior needs to go. And again, like I said earlier in this conversation, it's like we need to reintroduce bullies into the ecosystem.
Yeah, when they came out with that whole bully thing, I was just like,
Yeah.
I was bullied in high school, and
I know.
eventually I got stronger than my bullies when I started growing. I had a little growth spurt. And
The tables have
I
turned.
yeah, I bullied my bullies and I overcame that crap. So it's like they didn't want to mess with me anymore.
Yeah.
And what's really strange is one of the little brothers of one of the bullies was, trying to disrespect me the way that his brother did me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that didn't turn out good for him.
Yeah, but that's a good thing, though. I mean, you go through. You ever seen that movie 300, where young King
Yeah.
Leonidas was thrown out into the woods? I'm thinking in my head, like maybe we need to start going back to revert to more primal instincts. You throw your young boys. Not to say that you would, as a father. I don't know how you would want to do it, but my recommendation is to like throw these kids out in the woods, and if they ask like, "What do we do?" It's like survive. Come back with the carcass of the wolf, and we'll let you back into society. Good luck. Yeah, just
There's actually passages of what do they call that? Rite of passage. There's rites
mm-hmm.
of passage in so many cultures,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So like Mexican culture, it's for women, it's the quinceañera, or I'm
Oh
probably pronouncing that
yeah,
wrong.
no, it's correct. Yeah, when they turn 15.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
yeah.
but like in American culture, it's a mix of so many different cultures, and I feel like a lot of the European immigrants that came in the 1800s, now they don't really have much of rites of passage other than graduating high school. Like
Mm.
that's it. That's your rite of passage. Graduate high school and graduate from college, and those are your rites of passage, and that's about it. Like I do feel like we're missing something culturally that other cultures have that we don't have.
Well, I would say if you wanted to introduce something like that, it wouldn't start at. You don't get government involved. You keep it at the local level, like community wise. Like, oh no, you do. It's called Boy Scouts.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts is a right. I would say is a right. Like Eagle Scout, if you can achieve that, good luck. Because from what you guys, there's JROTC and then there's Eagle Scouts. I would say those are the two primary things that really help shape. Well, I don't know about now, but back between the early mid 50s to up until the 80s is I would say it was when Eagle Scout and JRTC were at its prime, producing like men of men. I don't know what they are now, but
So we're definitely, guys. I know a couple people left. We're going to relate this to Luna Classic. See, some of the
oh,
people that are in positions
uh-huh.
are dealing with this issue. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, I totally forgot we were like I was in a space. I feel like I'm in a podcast and nobody's watching or listening.
Well, this is a podcast. We're not. Yeah, it's not an argumentative back and forth
Yeah,
that the community is used to. So
you
maybe
should
it's not as exciting.
change the title to podcast episode 1.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, I think that would be a great start. Just say PSS speaks. It's like, dude, don't put me on a podium. What are you talking about? It's like he's been in silence, or you make me sound like I'm a political prisoner. I just got out.
There, how's that?
There you go. That's better. I even totally forgot to share it.
I'm trying. I'm trying to get Alex in here for the next one that I do
Alex.
because
Which one's Alex?
he was in TR probably. Gosh, it feels like a year ago, but it's been a long time. He's got a financial background.
Oh, does he?
You don't remember Alex?
Oh, Alex Forshaw. Duh. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a hedge fund manager. I totally forgot. Yeah, damn. I was like, Mrr.
Yep.
No, what was it? Excuse me. Like my my voice is just all dried up. Um, the what was I going with this? I totally lost my train of thought. Um, I wanted to touch up on Alex, but I wanted to go somewhere with it, but I completely forgot. Give me a second. Let me think. Um,
Yeah, take your time.
yeah, I want to try to hurry it up though, because I know there's other topics I want to touch on. Um, during the time when Alex was on TR, and there was that working relationship with between him and Zardar, me just outside looking in, there was an interesting dichotomy, especially when they were doing interviews with DJ Trev. I that's when and then this was when the split happened just soon when the Nebula deal went through, and I still don't understand the mechanics of it or of how those what those mechanics were. And I thought this was interesting.
Yeah, I know I understand what you're kind of stepping into because there's got to be something there more deeper than just what's on the surface. So I think I kind of feel like what you're stepping into there. I can't hear you. Were you talking this whole time? Oh, maybe he rugged guys. Hold on. PSX. On my thing, it says you're listener only. So maybe my internet is not doing well. Travis, can you hear me talking? Can you put a thumbs up, or anybody in the listener out of the listeners, can you put your thumbs up? See if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think he's having connection problems, and he hasn't responded to me yet. But can you hear him talking? So I'm getting. You can't hear him talk. Okay, so you can't hear him talking. So yeah, he's rugging. So I'm gonna try to convince him to bounce out and come back in. Hey, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the title of this. I'm going to end the space. I'm going to restart it as part two and see if he's still available. Uh, I think he just lost his connection is all, and he's not responding to my DM. So we'll see if that wakes him up. If he sees it, that's going on. I'll try that. Okay, well, I'm going to wait here just for a second, see if he comes in. All right, guys. So while we're waiting for him, I think that we could probably have an intermission and maybe have a sponsor. Since Hefty's in here, he can talk about his project or Hefe Token and the things that are going on there. And when he gets back, we can add him back up if you're open to that, Hefe. Hefe, I invited you up to give us a little bit of to shield your project, man. There you go. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hello, everybody. I just woke up at 6 in the morning here. I just wanted to take a look what's going on, and then jumped in. Didn't expect to talk anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm running it like a podcast where PSX gets to talk, and we're not taking questions. We're just going back and forth having a conversation because both of us have been pretty annoyed by how spaces operate, right? So, yeah, go ahead. Tell us what are the most exciting things happening with Hefe Token.
One of the most exciting things for me is that the game is already there and it's getting developed and developed. We have now 3 levels in the game, and a 4th is coming. And every week you get rewards for the high scores. So, the NFTs are boosting the high scores, and you get also 1% token back of the high score. So it doesn't matter who plays, how much he plays. From his high score, he gets 1% of the token back. And if he has NFTs, they boost the score. So really great scores to get. And this is one of the things that's going on. So it's just having fun and also developing more and more and more. I will not talk too much because PSX is here right now.
No. It was like, hey, if this is a commercial break, I won't interrupt. Just chill, Hefe. I'm a supporter of Hefe myself, so been learning more about it on my off time. But I'm excited to see where the project goes.
Yeah, it goes that how do you say it? My English is not the best, but it goes a very, very good way forward, I think. What do you think, PSX, about it? What know you right now about it?
Well, from what I know, well, the challenge right now because like best place to start is really within the school. I would say I wouldn't even try to market it to the Luna Classic community. What you want to do for the long term, the way I see it is you want to advertise it to younger kids. Because when I played it, it really appealed. This is something I would have played like instead of Nintendo. Because I grew up with I grew up with Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, the PlayStation Classic. That was that. I'm a '90s kid, so when I played, that's what it reminded me of. Like when Duke Nukem was a thing, Doom before it was, when 3D was starting to be, it was introduced to the audience. That's what I see. What Hefe Token is, and like you want to get in front of those kids. Like you got to start that generation. So Hefe Token, if you want to be successful, you're looking at a 20-year run.
Yeah, but it's not the only thing, have you ever talked to Steven to the death?
Are you talking about Lungburn Army Steven or Steven? Which Steven? There's a lot of Stevens in this space.
No, there's Steven is a part of their different Steven, part of their group.
Part of it. No, which one's Steven? Remind me.
The developer of Hefe Token.
Oh, him. I mean, we shoot the shit. I mean, I've had so many more questions about like the gamification of learning of because what he wants to do is, to my understanding, when we had our first initial conversation, was that he wanted to gamify to educate others about crypto in general. Luna Classic being one of the chains to onboard people to where they can start, not only people start educating those, but burning tokens as well. Um, Best place to start is really within the younger generations, not so much as those who are already in this space already. You want to start outside of it. You know.
Yeah, but as you know, I am not the youngest generation, but I
Mhm.
also like to play the game, and I'm not the gamer.
Yeah.
Because for me,
You want to target,
because
yeah, you got to target the way it's played, the way it's set up, it's targeting actual gamers. And I don't see
yeah,
if I put my finger on the pulse, because I'm an avid gamer. Like, I grew up gaming. I do FP, like,
yeah.
that's just so I'm very familiar with that. I'm very familiar with the demographics, but these guys are on Steam. These guys are on Twitch. These guys are on the Unreal Engine. Like, because I have a subscription. I have a library of games. I own multiple consoles, so I'm very familiar with that demographics. But I would say if you're going to market Hefe token, Luna Classic is not it.
The thing is that that there was Steven was very often on Lunar
Hmm.
Classic spaces, and also had to do with the Lunar Classic community. So that was the first step, or where he went, and also made the bridge to Lunar Classic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. No, like, keep your, if I was Steven, keep his relationship with the Luna Classic community. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to maximize your effort in a timely manner, you go outside of it. Because when the just from natural observations, I don't have numbers because I don't have access to Nielsen's numbers, and I'm pretty sure they've never done an audit on the types of demographics of Luna Classic holders. I don't even know where you would begin to start. But I would bet that if you're going to talk to Luna Classic communities about your product, it's more like you're just talking to investors. They're not gamers. But if you want to talk to people,
Yeah, I just invited Steven, so perhaps he can talk a little bit to you.
yeah, I mean, we'll
He
do that.
just joined.
Yeah, we'll do that. He's welcome to come. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I want.
He's already here.
Oh, okay. Well, damn. All right, that's fine. Fair enough. I'll open the.
Because I think the question what you had, for
Mhm.
me, he could answer best if you let him speak.
Jerry, because I know this is more of a podcast, not so much as a space. I want to treat the direction that he wants to go, and I kind of like the idea that keep it as a podcast, and we'll open it up to later on.
Yeah, I brought him up as a commercial break because
Okay.
you had to restart your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, because we started at 10, and holy fuck, it's already 11:30. God damn, we were like,
Sorry, man.
that was fast. I mean,
Right?
we went on tangents like left and right. I'm actually preferring this format that way you have it. Like, hey, if I rug like, hey, you got a commercial break, you can go into that, and then
Well, okay, Brick's in here now, so if he's still around, if you rug again, we'll bring him up so we can kind of say what's going on with him.
Yeah.
But
So let me get back to the original topic at hand because I wanted to tie in the Luna Classic
so
community.
let me address the Hefe token
Mhm.
real quick, and then I'll drop him from speaker. So Steven is in here now, but so here's my take on it. They're a group of guys that are very motivated to see a project through.
Yeah.
I think it's a positive project, and if you guys are interested, follow Hefe Token, which he's right there below PSX, and follow Hefe Michael. Get more information on it, ask him questions, get involved in some of those spaces, because I think they have some really cool things happening. And PSX, he said he's a supporter of it as well, and I think the feedback that PSX was given primarily leads to the fact that a large portion of the community don't really spend their Luna Classic. They just kind of buy and hold and wait, and they're more in tune with the investment itself and not necessarily the utilities that are coming on it, which sucks in a sense. But that brings me back to something else, PSX, that we talked about that I that we kind of like glossed over because I don't know, we're talking about dating or some other weird stuff.
No, we went from Luna Classic to initially it was the voices that have been hijacking the narratives and communication lines where spaces have gotten out of control, where it's just grievances are not being heard, where it's one opinion over another one, to dating apps, to Mario Nerfall and another, talking about Pentagon Files. Like, I kind of want to jump in there and see what's going on. Like, the hell, because I love his spaces. Yeah. I'm a bit of a conspiracy addict too. Now I want to come back in with with Alex really quickly and kind of really tie in the U.S. Constitution and the United States, how we're structured governmentally, and then into the Luna Classic. But first off, when I was talking about, did you hear the part where I was talking about, like, with the Neblio deal, where when Demon and Alex was, oh fuck, okay, so Alex and Demon, where they were going off on this crazy, I don't want to, like, they were going off on a campaign, going one space to another space, like they were just really voicing their complaints, right? But the problem with when you go with that approach is that it just becomes noise and screaming, right? So I also said that the initial deal between Neblio and TR was a sponsorship, because it was a partnership, right? So when there's a partnership, it's a sponsorship. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So initially, I didn't see anything wrong with that, right? And I was like, even when they were receiving with donations, there's nothing prohibiting, even if it was a nonprofit, so to speak, there's nothing prohibiting a nonprofit from accepting a sponsorship. There's nothing in a 530c that it's like, there's nothing. Just as long as you can show that you're using that money to actually putting it toward the next project. Like, you have to keep that money going on a tax basis. Okay, so moving forward, like 3 or 4 months have passed, right? I tell my team to release, after the whole TR shit show, you're welcome, everybody. It seems like I can never get away from it. So I'll just own it. I tell the team to release the TR town hall meeting part 2. I went ahead and just made and I withheld part 1 because it was irrelevant after reviewing. Oh my God, it was just cringe. But yeah, part 2 was where the meat and potatoes. And Matt Rader said that it was a donation, not a sponsorship. So wait a minute, 2 things cannot be true. It's either a sponsorship or a partnership, or it was a donation. Then now I'm seeing, like, there's communications through, like, other members saying, like, hey, TR lost the Neblio deal. So what is going on? And I remember having a conversation with Mustafa, who was the former secure DevOps for TR, telling me the money never reached TR's wallet. So there's more going on behind the scenes that I even realized. Like, there are things that I even during my time there with the team that I couldn't even see. So that might warrant an external investigation, like what's going on, not just with TR, but with Neblio. And I'm not saying there's a crime being committed. I'm saying there are things. I'm saying
there's a lot of things in crypto that don't seem
to add up.
It seems fishy, right?
Yeah.
And my thing about that is, I think depending on the level, the amount of money involved is what's going to bring in external investigation or not.
Right.
And I think when it comes to that specific deal in TR, there wasn't enough money involved between Luna Classic and Neblio. Now, Neblio on their own project, that's a different story. I have no clue. I have no idea, but I know that's more money was involved in that one.
So here's where I go into the Constitution and also mentioned I was going to have to actually tie in some Bible stuff, but I'll make it really quick and simple where it's digestible. There's no verses. I'm not going to throw any of that crap out. Well, I'm not going to call it crap. I'm not going to complicate it. So then we have like this. Then we have a situation like after the once the whole Neblio conversation was part of the Luna Classic conversation. It was a witch hunt. Like it's the mob. It's the masses just going after something that they're just angry about something that they were told by somebody else who told somebody else who are. Do you see where this is going? Like it's just one thing after another one. Just I heard this. I was told this. I read this. Does it make sense?
I think it did create a subgroup within the Luna Classic community, and
Right.
I think if anyone is staying active enough on Twitter, they know what I'm talking about. That subgroup is very active.
Yeah. I would say they may. I mean, I don't know who these subgroups are. I don't even care honestly. But point being is that we now have the mass, the mob, as I would call it, and they're just out for blood because they're angry, because they feel betrayed. And so I'm very empathetic about that. But I sat back and I just watched it play out to see where things are going, and I didn't have an opinion even at the time. And this happened before my onboarding with TR. That's why like initially when I looked at it from the surface value, I only saw it as like I still don't see the issue. Like I really don't. Even if Demon was in here to make a claim, it would go over my head. So I really don't care. What I saw was that if that was the amount of money they were offering, I'm going to be honest with you. Um, Raider and Raider and Vegas are some shitty business people in a nutshell. They are some shit. They don't know what the fuck they're doing because they're coming at it with motivations, like as motivated sellers or motivated buyers. Like they're just desperate, and it's so cringe. It's like who made this deal? And then when I saw who signed off on it, it's like you guys have some fucking amateurs. Like these guys should not be making business deals. Like if you're going to make a business deal or partnership, you ask for 50 to 100,000. Like this is chump change. Like what are we? Who's making these fucking deals? Legalities, whatever that aside. I'm looking at it from a business perspective, right? When those transactions are taking place, because one is like I'm thinking in terms of like you want to cover some you want to start covering like software costs, some additional overhead costs, people who can run not pay your devs, your core team devs, then develop a business team to start how do we move things around? I mean it's like hey, if you want to play in the big boy league, start making big boy deals. Like this is some weak sauce, but fast forwarding up
Right.
to later, and again, Vegas is a cuck, Raiders a cuck. Like these guys, they're just riding off a Twitter handle and a narrative that started back in May after the crash. If you're lucky enough to be a part of that, great. But if that's your narrative, that'll last for so long. It's very short term, and short lived. Now, going to the mob that was going after TR over the claims made by Alex Forshaw and Demon and Sam and those within the holacracy that were just going after him. It was just, for me, as a third party with no affiliation to anybody, it was just screaming. Like it's just angry mobs, right? And some of the things that I've learned in Madison's paper in the Federalist is that he wrote like the mob will always easily devolve into madness with no rationale. Like even if they had the case, it's like it's just noise. They just want a gallow. Yep. That's all it is, and nothing gets done.
No, you're right. I felt that way too, and I was a part of it. So I think that the move that I made with and it wasn't me that initiated it. I was just one part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Lunkburn Army and Sam.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of got pushed in a direction to do something. So in our mind, this was a potential solution, because in my mind is, all right, we can blindly trust everybody on the blockchain if we want, or we can set up a checks and balances system with some accountability and some proper business management, and we'll be fine. And to me, in my head, where Luna Classic is now and was back then is probably the most important thing to do. And everyone's like, well, you got to spend money on development. You got to spend money. I think spending money on getting a structure put in place that can make sound business decisions and keep honest people honest is probably. I want to go to sleep at night and not have to worry about anything because we know it's in check, and I'm not the one checking it.
Right.
Like I'm not. Like everyone's like, oh, this guy's doing this proposal because they want to take. I do not want to take over Luna Classic. If someone wanted to offer me a position in anything, I'd be like, hell no, no way, man.
Yeah.
I don't want nothing to do with that.
No, it's
drama.
It's not so much as drama. It's just I would look at it as it's an opportunity to learn how human behavior reacts to certain events. Whether they agree with it or not.
Human behavior that's hiding behind a Twitter profile.
I would say, well, I wouldn't say it's it. I think like even if I was to meet this person in real life, I would say Twitter revealed their true nature. It amplifies their real nature.
I think people are a little bit more brazen behind a Twitter file though, because with men. Okay, so women typically will like if they don't like another woman, or they'll typically if they attack somebody personally, it will be a social attack.
I know what you're talking about.
They'll destroy them socially.
Best case.
Well, men will just punch you in the face.
Oh, I prefer the punching method. I think I've made my case pretty clear. Duncan would be my shrink and just tell me, you can't do that, you'll kill the chain. It's like, well, okay, well, can I shoot him? Like, what's going on here? What are my options? What do I do? I typically, but I remember Chrissy from the Block and Lunk Nymph. That was an interesting. It was like after the TR shit show, there was another. That's like then it was after the fall of TR. Then it was Chrissy and Lunk Nymph just getting into a fight, and then you had the YouTuber wars. Then you had the Validator wars. I'm like, man, this is fun. So
it is entertaining to an extent. Yeah. I like being in the audience. I'm the guy, sitting down in the movie theater of Luna Classic and eating popcorn at this point. I don't want to be one of the paid actors, and I don't want to be one of the, what do you call them? What do they call people that just go? They're in a movie, but they just do a part where they don't talk or anything. They're like in a crowd.
Oh, an extra.
Extra, yeah. I don't
extras.
even want to be an extra. Yeah, I just want to be somebody, eating my popcorn and watching what's going on.
It's either it's you're an extra in the movie. You're in the movie, but if you're in crypto, you're an NPC. So how do you want to play this?
Well, I wouldn't mind being a non-player character, I guess.
Yeah,
because
just eat your popcorn. Popcorn does sound good right about now. I'll be honest. Be honest with that, man. But let's see. We've been at this for an hour and a half, so I'm going to wrap up with just real quick, just to kind of like I want to touch up on the on the Constitution and the Bible, and what I've learned from Luna Classic is that mob rule. Going with what I mentioned earlier is that the mob, it's a dangerous aspect. It's like democracy. When I hear democracy, like we want to shoot for a democratic system, it's like I never want to shoot for a democratic system. That shit just falls apart so quick. That's all it is. Like the masses, it's a blob, right? And I don't like the idea where it's all of a sudden like the masses want to dictate the verdict of judgment onto an individual when they haven't had a fair trial. This is when I go into the Bible, like even the Fourth and Fifth Amendment, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is baked into it.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And just what you said kind of supports what, having a structure, I think.
Yeah. You do need to have some type of governance. I'm not against that. I mean, look at the United States, right? When I was saying like centralization and decentralization, those two words are just buzzwords to me. If I asked anybody that question, like 20 people online, they would give me very different answers.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And there has to be some form of centralization in order to move forward, because I'll tell you what, I'm an investor and I don't know everything. There's more that I don't know than what I do know, right?
I'll put it this way.
So
TR, the way it was structured, it was a flat structure. Doesn't work. It doesn't
nope.
work.
Yep. It only works when it's a really
Yeah.
small group, and then it
Mm-hmm.
still don't work.
Yep. And well, I wouldn't call that. I would say that's an over bloated group. I mean, you had 20 mods with no legitimate skill. I mean, fucking Cosmo Rex has never used Microsoft Office. For crying out loud.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's crazy.
And then,
But
yeah, it
I
just
mean, it happens.
he got paid $10,500. Like, man, I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah, you wasted your time learning Microsoft, man.
Yeah, but okay. So let's go ahead and if you want, we can wrap it up by letting people, like inviting people to the stand. You know, Hefe Tokens in here. Want to give him an opportunity since we have an audience, a pretty sizable audience, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
And Brick.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. So just to let everyone know that may be listening to this in the future as well, I'll be inviting some people over into spaces. It's going to be podcast style. They're going to be talking. I'm going to be talking. We may have opportunity to bring some people up here and there. And there might be opportunity in the future for questions, but for the most part, I want to hear people talk uninterrupted. And that's the whole point of doing this. And I think there's lots of people in the community that would appreciate that and like that type of format versus what we've been seeing in the past.
Absolutely.
Oh, yay, I got supporters down there. Woo!
Yeah.
All right, so let's bring up Steven, and then Brick, and then they can talk about what's going on in their with them, and then we'll end it. Brick, you don't want to come up? All right, just leave you down there. Go ahead, Steve. Just let us know some exciting things that are going on with Hefe Token and what the future holds.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, PSX, for the space, the time, the podcast. Looking forward for the next episodes and to really keep learning on crypto. Well, basically, new updates are coming through Hefe Token. The NFT collection is gonna get more populated with more NFTs. More use cases are gonna be implemented in the next seasons, and hopefully we're gonna have a season 3 in 2 weeks. That season 3 is gonna open a new way of NFTs that are gonna be incorporated. It's not just about creatures anymore, but we're trying to achieve more like a sim kind of game reality, and just going aligned with all the guidelines of the stores and everything on Web3. So it's a constant and fast evolving space that we love it. We create games. We're going to keep making updates, getting feedback from the users, and we have a lot of more things coming through the project. So appreciate the time, the space. Anyone who's new here doesn't know about Hefe Token, you can guys check it out on the website, hefetoken.com, and we like to hear any opinion. If you see something we can do better, any idea we can incorporate, bring it on. The community is always welcome, and DMs are open for any suggestion, comment, or any type of things. So thank you very much for the space, the time. I don't want to take too much from this, and I hope we can continue having these great spaces, guys. Keep it up. Like it very much, and thanks for the space.
Yeah, I want to say one thing about Hefe Token as well. You guys, if you keep going, right, and I think you will, every year that gets added on to what you're doing is going to evolve your group to a point where I just think that if you don't stop at the end of 20 years, there's going to be a story you can tell, and just keep striving towards what you want, because it sets an example to people that they see that, and heck, you might even write a book in 20 years about it. Who knows? Hey, this is because the first couple of years, anything with tech, it's almost like you don't make much. It's like you almost have to treat it like a hobby, and then you get, once there's a little bit of money coming through, then you can go full time. And a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to start a business and do something. It's not easy, and you guys are doing it right now. And it's, from what I've seen, you're seeing some success. So congratulations.
Thank you, Jeremy, for the kind word, bro. Means a lot for us.
And I want to take this. I want to take this moment to quickly shell Brick's project, because he's not coming up, so I'll shell it for him because good friend of mine. He is working on an advertising platform that has additional utility where people can trade NFTs. So I might get it wrong. He can correct me later. And I know the space is being recorded. So if anybody hasn't given Brick a follow, please do so. And he was it Nomi, Tomi. I keep getting it wrong, but give him a follow. And he'll provide updates on his project that he's working on. There's definitely an opportunity where Hefe Token and his platform can cross collaborate. So that's always an exciting piece as well, seeing what that looks like. Quick shout out to Steven, who's down there, who did live up to his word, who bought, I think it was Steven. I'm not sure if it was Steven.
Yeah, it's me. It's me.
Yeah, no. Steven Lalick, who bought the for the retweets, who bought like, actually, I don't know, it was like 40 million Luna Classics for X amount of retweets, and I saw it. I was like, yeah, right on. So nice work down there, dude. Just want to give you a quick shout out. And Jerry, always a pleasure. Really, thank you for your time.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for doing it such short notice. This is my first podcast on here. I think once I return to the States, we'll end up doing it on Spotify or something as well. I'm not just going to be inviting people over to talk about Luna Classic itself. We're going to be talking about whatever, right? So it's podcast style.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually prefer that format, where it's just free for all on the conversation wise.
My next guest that I'm trying to get is Alex Forshaw. Did I say that right, PSX?
Yeah, it's Alex Forshaw.
Okay, Alex Forshaw. I don't know his availability. That one's probably going to be scheduled if he agrees to it. And if not, I'll get somebody else. But this is how I'm going to handle things from here on out, guys. I definitely appreciate Luna Classic and the free-for-all spaces that they have sometimes. But I'm probably not going to conduct them anymore. This is how I'm going to do it, just because for me, it's more palatable. I can actually sit here and listen to what somebody's thinking, and you guys can too, without anybody interrupting. And that's kind of the reason why we went this way. So everyone take care. Thanks for coming on, PSX, Hefe Token, Steven, and Brick, and Bean, and Travis, and Cowboy, and everybody else that came in here that I probably haven't had the opportunity to talk to. Thanks for coming in and listening, and we'll record these every time. So take care, everybody. Bye.
Good night, everyone. Bye.